Hey, deep divers, make sure you hit that like button and get ready because we're going deep on something pretty wild today.
Ooh, I like wild.
We're talking about stop-motion animation,
Okay.
but not the kind you're probably thinking of, the cute, family-friendly stuff.
Right.
No. Today we're looking at Memoir of a Snail.
Okay.
And let me tell you, this film dives headfirst into dark adult themes. Like, seriously, stuff you wouldn't believe.
Like what?
We're talking death sex, even a sausage fetish.
Whoa, hold on. Sausage fetish with snails?
Yep, all with snails.
Right, I'm intrigued.
You should be. But hey, it's not all shock value. This film explores some pretty universal themes, too.
Bleak.
Like grief resilience, finding hope in unexpected places.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
And trust me, the visuals are just as mind-blowing as the story itself.
Well, you've definitely got my attention now.
Great, so let's dive into the story. We meet Grace, our main character, as she's reflecting on her life.
Okay.
But her journey is far from easy. Let me tell you, she's dealt with a seriously tough childhood. Losing her mother at birth, a father who's really struggling, relentless bullying.
Oh, that's rough.
And then on top of all that, she's separated from her twin brother, Gilbert.
Oh, wow.
They get thrown into different foster care situations.
Oh, yeah.
It's like one blow after another.
It's enough to make anyone want to retreat into a shell.
Literally.
Yeah.
In Grace's case, that shell comes in the form of a snail obsession.
A snail obsession, huh?
Oh, yeah, she's got it bad. She collects them, keeps them in her room. It's a whole thing.
So this film really makes you think about how we cope with trauma and pain.
Right.
For Grace, it's snails, but for others, it might be something completely different.
Absolutely.
The point is we all have our ways of dealing with the tough stuff in life.
Exactly. And the film really captures the rawness of Grace's grief.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, there's this one line that always sticks with me. She describes her grief as leaving a metallic taste in your mouth and placing stones in your stomach.
Wow, that's powerful imagery.
Right. You can just feel the weight of her sorrow.
It's amazing how animation can bring those internal feelings to life, sometimes even better than live action.
Yeah, definitely. And the director really uses the visuals to reflect Grace's emotional state.
I see.
Lots of muted tones, shadowy settings. It's like you're visually experiencing her depression.
That's fascinating. I've always been drawn to how animation can use color and setting to convey emotion.
It's really effective.
Yeah.
And it's not just the visuals. The sound design plays a big role, too.
Oh, interesting.
Like there's this constant dripping of water in Grace's room.
Hmm.
It's subtle, but it adds to the feeling of isolation and despair.
I see.
It's like you're right there with her feeling the weight of her loneliness.
Those little details, they can really make a film so much more immersive.
Absolutely. And speaking of different experiences, let's talk about Gilbert Grace's twin brother.
Okay.
Talk about a rough deal. He ends up with religious fanatics who force him into hard labor.
Jeez, that's awful.
His life takes a seriously dark turn. But even though their journeys are different,
Yeah.
there's this shared feeling of isolation and searching for belonging.
Right, like they're both trying to find their place in a world that feels pretty hostile.
Exactly. It's like they're two sides of the same coin, both shaped by these early traumas.
That parallel narrative structure is so clever. The way it switches between their perspectives. It
Yeah.
adds this whole other layer to the story.
Definitely. You see how their experiences shape them, lead them down different paths.
Powerful stuff. And it makes you really think about the lasting impact of childhood trauma.
Absolutely. And there's this one moment with Gilbert that always gets me.
What is it?
He talks about wanting to be a fire breather just like his dad.
Oh, wow.
And knowing what eventually happens to him, that foreshadowing is just heartbreaking.
Yeah, you can't help but feel for him.
It speaks to how fragile dreams can be, especially when you're facing such overwhelming odds.
Right, sometimes no matter how hard you try, circumstances can just get in the way.
It's a harsh reality, but the film doesn't shy away from it. And then there's the animation style itself.
Oh, yeah, stop motion.
It's so unique and meticulously crafted. You can see the love and attention to detail in every frame.
I agree. Stop motion has this inherent vulnerability and fragility to it,
Right.
which fits perfectly with the characters and their experiences.
It's like you're peering into their inner world through this handcrafted art form.
Beautiful. And speaking of art, that amusement park scene was a visual masterpiece.
Oh, man. Tell me about it. The way the roller coaster dips and turns, mirroring the ups and downs of their lives.
Yeah.
is pure poetry in motion.
I love how the director uses the roller coaster as a symbol of their journey.
Right. It's not just a ride. It's a metaphor for all the thrills and spills, the unexpected turns.
Exactly. And the way it's animated, you can feel the exhilaration and the heartbreak all at once.
It's moments like that that make this film so impactful and so memorable.
The director is a true visionary. The way he uses visual metaphors is just brilliant.
I completely agree. Now, before we go any further, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications.
Do it.
We're just scratching the surface of Memoir of a Snail.
Yeah.
And you don't want to miss what comes next.
Trust me, this is just the beginning.
This deep dive is about to get even more fascinating.
Can't wait.
So buckle up, deep divers.
Let's go. It's crazy how even the tiniest details in this film add to the emotional impact.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
The way the characters' eyes move or those subtle shifts in their expressions.
It's true. You really feel like you're getting a glimpse into their souls.
Exactly. It's like every single frame is infused with meaning.
And speaking of meaning, we talked earlier about how Grace uses snails as a coping mechanism.
Right, building that protective barrier around herself.
Almost like she's retreating into her own little world.
And her room literally becomes her world.
Right. It gets more and more cluttered with snails as the film goes on.
Which visually represents her withdrawing from life.
Exactly. It's like she's shutting out the world and surrounding herself with these creatures that bring her comfort.
Powerful stuff. And then we have Pinky entering the picture.
Ah, Pinky. What a character.
She's like a breath of fresh air.
Right. This vibrant, elderly woman who just bursts into Grace's life.
So full of life, even in her old age.
Such a stark contrast to Grace's introverted nature.
And that's what makes their dynamic so interesting.
I love how Pinky acts as a catalyst for change in Grace's life.
Pushing her to step outside her comfort zone.
It's like Pinky plants a seed of hope with her stories of adventure and resilience.
Showing Grace that there's more to life than just hiding away.
That scene where Pinky's talking about her past marriages and travels.
Oh, yeah.
It's so inspiring.
It shows that life can be full of twists and turns.
And that heartbreak doesn't have to be the end of the story.
Exactly. Pinky's story is a reminder that our experiences shape who we are.
But they don't have to define us.
And it empowers Grace to confront her past and start moving forward.
It's like Pinky gives her permission to embrace life again.
Beautiful. And it's a good reminder for all of us.
Absolutely. Memoir of a Snail. It doesn't sugarcoat things.
Right. It gets pretty dark.
But it also offers these glimmers of hope.
Little reminders that even in the darkest of times, there's always light to be found.
Like Grace finding love with Ken, her husband.
Even with his, shall we say, unique preferences.
Yeah, that detail was definitely unexpected.
But it speaks to the film's willingness to embrace the complexities of relationships.
It's not always pretty or perfect.
But there's beauty in that imperfection.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ken's acceptance of Grace, quirks and all.
It's a testament to the power of love and understanding.
No matter how strange those quirks might be.
And speaking of strange, let's circle back to Gilbert for a moment.
Oh yeah, his story takes a particularly dark turn.
Forced to work for those religious fanatics.
And ultimately meeting a tragic end.
It's brutal.
The film doesn't shy away from the harsh realities of life.
And it highlights the devastating consequences of abuse and neglect.
It's a reminder that not everyone gets a happy ending.
Yeah, sometimes the world can be a cruel and unforgiving place.
But the way the film reveals Gilbert's fate.
Yeah, through those flashbacks.
It's so well done.
It keeps you on the edge of your seat.
Even though you kind of sense that something terrible has happened.
The director is a master of suspense.
He builds this sense of dread that culminates in that shocking revelation.
It's gut-wrenching.
But it's also a powerful reminder of the fragility of life.
And yet, even with all the darkness,
Yeah.
the film ends on a note of hope.
Grace finds solace in her memories.
In those small acts of kindness that touched her life.
And in the realization that she's stronger than she thought.
The film ultimately suggests that even in the face of unimaginable tragedy,
We can find a way to move forward.
it's a message of resilience and the importance of finding meaning in our own unique journeys.
Like, even though Grace's glass may have been shattered,
Yeah,
she finds a way to pick up the pieces and create something new and beautiful.
powerful stuff.
It's a message that I think will resonate with a lot of people.
I completely agree. It leaves you with a sense of hope.
A reminder that even broken things can be mended.
And that life, despite its challenges, is a gift worth cherishing.
Memoir of a Snail is a film that really stays with you.
It makes you think.
It makes you feel.
It's an experience.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
There's so much more to unpack.
But before we go any further, I want to shift gears a bit.
Okay.
And talk about what this all means for you, the viewer.
Right, because even though it's centered on one woman's story,
Yeah.
It speaks to universal themes we can all relate to.
All right, so we've really gone deep with Memoir of a Snail.
Yeah.
This film is visually stunning,
Hmm.
emotionally complex. I mean, it's got it all.
It really does.
But before we wrap things up, I want to talk about what all this means for you, the viewer.
Okay.
Because even though the story focuses on Grace's life, there are these universal themes that we can all connect with.
Right, like lost resilience, that deep need for connection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it really gets you thinking about how you deal with hardship, you know?
It's not just about watching Grace's journey.
Right.
It's about reflecting on your own experiences.
Yeah, like Grace's obsession with snails might seem kind of quirky at first,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
but it's a metaphor for how we all cope.
Right, we create our own shells, our own ways of protecting ourselves from the world.
And the film really challenges us to think about those shells.
Are they actually helping us?
Or are they holding us back from fully experiencing life?
That's a really good question.
And there's no easy answer. It's something we all have to figure out for ourselves.
Absolutely. And another thing that really resonated with me was the idea of small acts of kindness.
Oh yeah, like how Pinky, with her adventurous spirit, really inspired Grace to open up.
It's amazing how those little things can have a ripple effect.
It's like a chain reaction of positivity.
And we often underestimate the power of our actions.
Right. A kind word, a helping hand, just listening to someone.
Those things can make a world of difference.
Not just for others, but for ourselves too.
It's like Pinky was the fairy godmother Grace never had.
Ah,
I love that. But instead of a magic wand, she had wisdom and a wicked sense of humor.
and a whole lot of stories to tell.
Exactly. And it all ties back to that hopeful message that runs throughout the film.
Even amidst darkness, there are always those glimmers of light.
It's about finding those flickers and letting them guide us.
Beautiful. So deep divers, we've explored the dark, the whimsical, the poignant, the strange,
All with snails.
all with snails. But before we crawl away, I want to leave you with a final thought.
Okay, shoot.
If you had to choose an animal to represent your life journey, what would it be and why?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Drop your answers in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
It's a great exercise in self-reflection.
What qualities or strengths or challenges does that animal embody for you?
Thinking about it can really give you some insights into your own path.
So that wraps up our deep dive into Memoir of a Snail. It's a film that stays with you long after the credits roll,
It really does.
and we hope you enjoyed exploring it with us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next deep dive.
Until next time, deep divers.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those snail hats coming.